Hey, this is John Corey. I'm your host for the John and Jani show. Welcome back. This is episode number 5. This one is a beautiful Jani Moon from New York City.
Hi, hi. Glad to be back here again, John.
Thanks for being with me again, Jani.
Always.
So I'm the author of a new book, Chronology, coming out soon, Evolution in You. Jani is a media coach in New York City, and on this show, we love to take a look at really interesting people, seeing how they do cool things and share their path and progress and journey with you, our viewers, to see what we can learn from it, because we all want the cool things in life. And we're excited about our guest today. Our guest is Chris Parker. Chris made a movie in Portugal, of all places, but it's awesome. I've seen the movie. It's a feature film, and so for me, it's pretty exciting. Jani's in the media world, aren't you, girl?
I am, and I'm excited to have Chris here to pick his brain about how he was able to do it all. Because he's like,
have you been on sets of movies? You work mostly in television, right?
I'm mostly television, but I've been on some movie sets as well, and it's just so demanding, and it's such a, I mean, it's like having a baby. You're like literally birthing this huge creative, project with the writers, the sets, the actors, all of it to create the story of inspiration as well as entertainment.
So it sounds pretty challenging, pretty demanding, I think, huh?
Yeah,
and
definitely.
So for me, it's interesting because the point is, with Chris, he's got a day job. A couple of things for me. He's got a day job. He's an IT consultant, and he's also a family man. That's 2 things. He's got 3 things going.
Mm-hmm.
The third thing is he's a family man, but he's an American, and he lives in Holland, just like me. And so.
Aww. It's your twinsy, John. It's your twinsy.
We ordered the same bagels at Bagels and Beans.
Is that how you met him? You met him at the bagel place?
No, we just had lunch there. But no, we met via. But of course, that's an interesting person then, right? Somebody who's just like you on all these levels. Yeah. Well, these 3 levels at least, too. He's got short hair, too. I think he doesn't have a bald spot like me. But the point is, he's got a day job. There's so much, it's always been the trend. This is like the kind of common thing people are saying now is to follow your passion.
Yeah.
And a lot of young people are doing this, and from what I understand, they're also getting very disillusioned. Like it's not working out the way they expected. It's not like they just drop everything, become a ballet dancer or whatever, and all of a sudden life is great. It actually doesn't work out always as well as they want it to, and so it's interesting to see alternative ways to kind of like get the bills paid, to really work and have a career, but also to do things that you find are interesting. And so
that fulfill that artistic need.
Exactly, that expressive part of you that isn't always, can have a day job and enjoy it, but don't feel completely expressed. And so that's what Chris has done. He's a consultant. It's really cool. He runs his own kind of consulting business. So in that sense, he's more in control of his life. Already than most people, I think. But the cool part is he's been able to just kind of do the side project. And so we want to take a look at it. Jen, did you have the...
I do. I have
It's called The Right
clip.
Juice.
And you can see it at www.therightjuice.net. Here is the trailer.
Ta-da! You looking at our future, Sal? This is the start of a new dawn. One of the fellows, how'd you do? Well, it's not exactly a villa, it's more ethnic-y than that, it's really Portuguese-y. That's an Alvaroba. What's an Alvaroba?
This project is well behind schedule. I can't get the bank facility released until we have the title to all the properties in the valley.
Se vai acertar 40 mil.
A minha avó está morta. Ela caiu na banheira.
Thanks for opening now. I'm a huge friend right now. No problem. We are neighbors.
Here, farmer.
The dam is on my land. The water is on my land.
Ango, it's mine! You cut the water from the river.
We stole all the water.
How the hell are you still poor? I can try to find out more and help.
I careful. He's dangerous.
Drinking water. Water is life.
In Portugal, everything takes longer.
For God's sake, man, get over
My wife says I'm a dreamer.
Dreaming's good. I like dreaming.
Very cute.
That was nice.
That's wonderful.
All right, well let's get him on here. Chris Parker, let's unhide you. It always takes like a second. Here we go.
Yay, Chris!
Chris, can you hear us? Are you
He's
muted?
on mute.
Why is it muted?
Just giving it
That
that.
comes by itself.
Oh,
Wait
there we
a minute. There he is.
I'm back.
Hey, Chris, how you doing?
Yay.
Hello.
Hey, thanks for being on the show there. Chris, tell us, when does this movie come out?
Well, in Portugal, it's already out. It's already been in cinemas for about a month. It's actually starting to taper off. So then the question is, when will it be here in the Netherlands for us, John? And we're still working on that. That's part of the story, I guess, of getting the film distributed. And we're working on the UK and the US as well. So
Right, 'cause it's not some big bang, huh? It doesn't just drop and then it's all over the world. It starts out in one place, and so it keeps you busy in that sense, right?
it definitely keeps us busy. I think that was part of the maybe our own naivety when we first started is, oh, let's make a really good movie, and then some distributor will come and magically take it away from you, and everyone in the universe will see it. And well, it doesn't always work that way. So, we're doing it. I want to say maybe the old-fashioned way, which is work on the home country of Portugal, and then we've made a bit of a splash there, which you can talk about, and we're really just motivated because people enjoy the film, and that's the thing that just keeps us going.
I enjoyed the film too. Was there an explosion? I'm trying to remember if there was an explosion or not, but, but
explosion movies?
And it was kind of no. I hate explosion movies, but most people like explosion movies. It was a quiet movie, but it did keep me entertained.
But it was it had great characters, and it was funny and charming, and it dealt with potential, I would think, real issues as well. But my question is, how did you even get the motivation to even do this? Where did this even come about?
Yeah.
Well, it certainly wasn't my own motivation, but it's been a bit of a, I guess you could call it a bucket list thing, or a life goal thing, to make a movie. And in my case, that meant to be meaningfully involved in a feature film. And I've been carrying that, call it a dream, for as long as I can remember. And in preparation for that, I went over to London for a film production masterclass. Friends of mine that are in the film business, when a friend of mine, Trevor, who was over, this goes back in probably 2006 or so, sort of called me out on it as well and said, well, you want to make a movie, you want to be a filmmaker, I've got my gear, let's make a movie. So we made a short film, basically over a weekend, and he said that felt like a 48-hour film project, which is a bit of a community contest that didn't exist in the Netherlands. So another friend of mine and I, Richard, brought the 48-hour to the Netherlands.
What is the 48-hour?
The 48-hour film project. It's amazing concept for amateur and semi-professional, even professional filmmakers. It's you get a team together, and on a Friday night you get a character prop and a line of dialogue imposed on you. You pull a genre from a hat, and you have 48 hours to make a 7-minute max film. Awesome! It's just a great thing, and we
somebody's idea, and now you've just kind of implemented it.
Right. We licensed it from the team in DC, and in that first year we hooked up with the Netherlands Film Festival, so amateur filmmakers could get their film screened in the Netherlands Film Festival, and it was through that journey that I met.
Competition? Is it a competition of some sort, or?
Yeah, it's in like 90, 100 cities around the world.
That's amazing.
It's really it's.
It started in Washington, D.C.
Yeah, that's where the founders are, and it's not a big commercial thing. It's really a community thing. And the guy who won Amsterdam, Christian, the first 2 years, he was actually the director of The Right Juice, and so it was through, I guess taking baby steps over about 10 years towards the goal of making a film, and then you start to meet the people, and Christian and I became friends, and he did some work for me at my old company. And it was actually when I was leaving the executive world and starting my consulting practice that he was one of the first people, at the lunch table and said, "Well, you said you wanted to make a movie. We have a script in development, and we need some business help. So can you help us out?"
And is that power? What has your superpower been in this whole creative project?
My superpower is there's amazingly creative people in the team, but there wasn't a whole lot of structure, shall we say? Maybe business structure. The producer BJ, she's been an art director for films all over her career, and all sorts of incredibly talented. Christian is also an incredibly talented director. So the creative process they had totally under control, but all the stuff around it, the budgeting, the getting the sponsorships, crowdfunding, there was a lot of learning curve there. I also did all the legal work of all things. So on this one, I did a lot of the dry work. But it was really fun to be able to get involved. So I think I got involved in July 2011, and they wanted to shoot later that year, and they had a 1.5 million euro budget in mind, and they had no money raised, they had no talent attached, they had nothing. So they
called you and said, "Chris, get us some money."
Yeah, sort it out. And and we had to have a couple coming to Jesus moments, and then we ended up shooting for reworked the script, got rid of some expensive stuff that was written in, got the sponsorships, did the crowdfunding, and we shot in April and May of 2012. So. And
how do you get the actors? Because you have quite a few well-known actors in the film.
Yeah, I think in a lot of ways we got lucky in a lot of ways. Like Lucia Moniz, who's the Portuguese dolphin trainer.
I didn't recognize her. Jani did from Love Actually. It is.
Yeah, she was in Love. Exactly, she was in Love Actually, and that was just get in touch with her agent, who's in the U.S. And
how do you get in touch with somebody's agent?
Just start calling around. Yeah, started searching, and there are a lot of websites on where people's agents are. If you look at it from that perspective, it's not that hard to find. And just explained to her the spirit of the story, and she bought into it, and she bought into the limited budget we had, and she was marvelous. And in Portugal, she's actually a singer, so she was in the Eurovision Song Contest for Portugal.
Oh, that's too bad.
And that was a bit ago, but she's like a household name in Portugal for being a singer.
Wow. And
then everywhere else, she's known as being an actor. So
that's a big score, yeah.
Really fortunate. And Mark Collane, who's the lead, is beautiful person, beautiful man.
Yeah, he is beautiful.
Yeah.
Looking to look at it.
Oh, you like that? And he's all equally as beautiful of a person as well. And he's been in Game of Thrones in the latest 300 movie, and definitely an up and coming talent. And that was really through his agent. So we got in touch with his casting agent, Wendy, in London, and Christian went over to interview a couple, and they didn't work out. And so Wendy said, well, because we were looking for a banker, a sort of a little weaselly guy with a pencil behind his ear.
He's like jacked.
He's like Herculean. He's a superhero.
Yeah.
And,
good call. Good call.
Yeah. And Christian came back and said, well, that the bankers that we had in mind that were originally selected didn't work out, didn't click or whatever. And but he's got this the superhero. And what we ended up doing is liking it, because he bought into the spirit of the film and the story, which I think is we were looking for people who could connect, and he was connecting. And then we also liked sort of the poetry of it, if you will, where this perfect person has totally failed, and is continuing to fail. So this physically, otherwise perfect person is just struggling with the life issues of relationships and finance, and having gone bankrupt and having let people down, and now he's and then he's becoming himself through the story. And then and we liked it, and it worked.
Yeah. Well, take me back now again, because you said about this whole baby steps thing. So let's start with baby step one. You knew this guy named Trevor, right?
Yep.
Where do you know him from? Because he's in movies. You just buddies or what?
Well, he was back in the day a software consultant, and he lives in LA, where I'm originally from, and so he was over.
You're from LA.
Come over. many times to Amsterdam for Amsterdam stuff, but he always carried his gear around. He's more in the short films and in commercials and stuff, and yeah, I guess it was really nice to have a friend who's holding you accountable for what you put out in the universe, and say, I want to make a movie, and then if someone holds that mirror up and says, well, let's do it, and helps you take the first step. And that was, I was the boom mic operator on that. We had got other friends in to do different parts, and it was a lot of fun. So that was my first making a movie experience, which was, of course, over a weekend, and then
right. And you took that concept, you took it to the Dutch film.
The 48 hour.
Because you've mentioned something else to me where you pitched to companies. So you're like a pitcher. You like to pitch.
Yeah, I guess. If I'm
good at it.
I guess if I'm bought into something, and I guess that's what I was also putting together with The Right Juice, is putting together the business package. So what is the budget? What can we afford? How are we going to get around different things? And we had just really amazing support from the Algarve community. When the Algarve is the region of southern Portugal where it's filmed. They are oftentimes in films but you don't know it, because they can make themselves look like Asia, they can make themselves look like Africa, and so a European film team can go there and do a lot of creative stuff, but it's never really about Portugal. And so in this case, this was a movie about the Algarve, and there's a lot of English expats there, and it's really just part of the cultural fabric.
And so you find like this group. I'm just trying to because I think this is a very obviously important skill that you have, is to be able to pitch to people. I mean, you've pitched to companies in your consulting firm, but you also, pitched this to this Dutch film group or whatever communities, this 48-hour thing, and now you've pitched also to investors and people to do this movie, right?
Yeah.
And that's you're taking the lead role in that. And that's a huge, I think, skill for people. And so where does that? It sounds like, if I'm going to try and summarize your little process here, is you found sort of these key elements to pitch. One is you're going to take this to Portugal and explain to people that this is a movie about Portugal. We want to film it here, and this is great for your country. Is that sum it up a little bit, to take this kind of angle in there?
Yeah, well, I think with any elevator pitch, you have to come up with your story and your hook and your angle. And in this one, it was, I guess it was the dream of a lot of people to make it, and it's also the dream of the region to have it made. We put the financial story together. Which once you get a couple actors in and get them sort of tied to it, that makes it easier to talk to other people. So if you have Lucia involved, then maybe it's more interesting for Mark. And then you have to get the whole, like Jani, like you said, all the cast and crew, all the crew involved as well. And a lot of those people, we also had to sign up to the spirit of it, because we had a very limited budget. So some people, like I've never been paid, for a minute of this thing. Some people, we paid them a survival wage because they just really wanted to be involved, and that's all we could afford. And yeah, you have to pitch it to them like that, and say, well, this is the game, but we're going to make something beautiful, and it could help your career. If it takes off, there's no guarantees. Yeah. And then with the sponsors, is this a funny story here is the local media in Portugal, also very helpful. And one of the magazine owners or editors, she got us an interview with Intermarché. And Intermarché is a French grocery store chain. And awkward, weirdest conversations I've ever, because there's a Portuguese lady sitting there who's the magazine salesperson, the English owner. I'm an American, and this guy's French, and he doesn't speak a word of English. And so, okay. But after a while, he figured out what we were on about, and said, oh, you want to make a movie? Okay, how many people, how long? And then he did literally on the paper tablecloth of the restaurant, did some math, and he said, yeah, okay, take this to my manager, and we'll get you all the food. Okay. And later, I'm like, well, what just happened there? Because I didn't understand how it actually got from the explanation in our pitch to yes so fast. And apparently he grew up in France, and his parents owned a cinema. And once he figured out what we were doing, he was like, yeah, I'm in. And we couldn't have planned that. So it was great.
And what did you have set up at that moment, if I might ask? Because, of course, you have to go with these pitches with something already there, right? It's not like, oh, we just have an idea. You have to at least tell them we've got somebody who wants to be in it. I mean, because you went to this actress.
Mm-hmm.
And what did you have going for you at that moment? Because, of course, why would she listen to you?
Yeah, well, where does any pitch start? We had the story, we had the script, which was being revised. We were looking at, developing the different characters, and of course, then once you get the talent attached, you might adapt the characters. Because we originally thought, Mark Oliver, the lead, would be a banker guy, and so you had to sort of adapt when he turned out to be Mark. We also knew we had a deadline, because Easter in the south of Portugal is basically when their high season starts, and so if we were not able to get it done by that time, all of the free hotel rooms, Villa Vita, the 5-star resort, was been a great help. Put up all, some of the lead actors and stuff. All of that would be gone, because they're in the high season. That the summer months is when they make all their money. And so basically, we came up and said, well, this is our target. So we knew when we wanted to shoot. So dear Lucia, can you block that in there? Can we talk about what sort of money you need and what sort of points you need on the back, or whatever the deal is? And then you just start keeping in touch with them, and you start putting the different pieces together, and in the end, you start praying. So it's yeah,
it does seem like a leap of faith. And so, what was that the most challenging thing? It's just the trusting of the whole process. What was the most challenging thing for this whole process for you?
Well, there's been a lot of beautiful challenges and beautiful lessons and experiences. The most difficult part we're in is right now, actually.
Really?
Yeah, but that's for me, because I think for some of the people that worked on the shooting, that was obviously the challenge, the creative challenge. And I was there a number of times, to be involved, but I was, just being on the business side of the project. I was more just trying to stay out of the way, but still wanting to be there. And I've read that it's harder to distribute an indie film than it is to make an indie film, and you can read that. But I never really understood it until we're here, and yeah, there's a lot of lessons there. So we're actually in the difficult part, but we've followed. We went to Cannes, we went to Berlinale, we talked to the sales agents, we talked to distributors. Mm-hmm. We went via. It's been on major network, U.S. network executives' desks. And we keep getting the same story back, which is beautiful little film, human story, well shot, high production quality. Can't sell it.
Why?
Well, there's no audience baked into it. That is, for the biggest. And I think time will tell whether this is a fatal flaw or our strongest, aspect of it. There's a reason why a lot of indie films are very genre specific. They're horror films, or they're something like that, because the Asian markets will buy horror. So you make it. It's pretty cheap to make. You take a couple teenagers, you bring them to a cabin, you cut them up, and you put a soundtrack over it, and they. That
is what I missed from this film: dismembered Asians.
Exactly. So explosions and zombies. Yeah, and that stuff will sell. Or you have a big name actress. You got Brad and Angelina involved, and then it's a sure thing, but then you can't afford that. Yeah. Or the big studio groups, they just make a movie, and then they put $100 million behind it to market it, and they've done the math, and they make $200 million, they're happy, and they go off to the next one. Right. This one is a film for a very broad audience, and when you go to the strategy sessions that are being taught now, and I think it's also changed over the last 5 years, they're saying you have to develop your audience up front. And we don't have that necessarily. We have discovered that people walk out of the film, out of the cinemas, smiling and talking and energized, and so it's doing all the right things. Right. It's also connecting a bit to manopause, which is the word that's been kicked around. So it's
I know nothing about that.
Yeah.
What is a manopause?
Manopause. The men's what do you call it? The
midlife crisis we're talking about here. Or no?
Oh.
So because Oliver, the lead, is having to discover himself, and see, John and I, we connect to that. We know what's going on.
Yeah, there you go.
But then I do want to kind of do a sidetrack here, because the point is, what's so interesting about this, I mean, for me, you're in the hard part now. You've done all this stuff. It's not like you've made millions because, like they say, you can't sell it. It's not a big box office hit or whatever, but it's a great little movie, like you said. You've enjoyed it. You've gotten some great stuff out of it. The people have enjoyed it. Portugal, as a country, is enjoying it. And so this is your passion. This is very nice, and you're probably maybe looking forward to the next movie. But it's such a great example.
No, he's not even out of this one yet.
Yeah.
But it's such a great example of somebody who is still able to do something creative and expressive and still keep kind of like their day job. Because I mean, yeah, I'm impressed that your wife lets you do all this stuff and that that you still have, like, you know, you're still paying the bills and everything. So that's.
Well, I think if I would have known how much work it would have been, and if more importantly, if my wife would have known how much work it would have been, I'm not sure if she would have signed up so easily.
Right. So it's better you not know those things probably.
Well, yeah, I don't know, and with my own, I guess my own. I like things to be done well, you know. So I think we could have cut corners here and there, or whatever. But and I've also taken advantage, you know, because to go to Cannes, you know, for 4 or 5 days is not inexpensive to do. But it's an amazing experience, and we learned so much about the market there, what works, what doesn't work. But I think it's also for me, one of the biggest lessons was, well, when I first got involved, I wasn't necessarily starstruck, but I thought this would be the Hollywood and filmmaking was something different. And pretty quickly I realized that this is just business, and that's what I know. You know, so I know how to package projects. I know how to get people on board. I know how to manage talent. You know, we've had to remove some people, you know, from the project. We've had to negotiate them off. We had to a lot of, you know, personality conflicts. We had you know, people that promised things that you know, didn't show up to the party, and you know, and those are all the things that happen in any business.
Right.
So once I figured out that, wait a second, you know, the lessons that I've learned in the IT world and in the business world doing startups and whatnot, those all apply. And so once I put that lens on, it was also very easy for me to manage it within everything else.
Yeah, and that's kind of the idea I'm thinking of, is that people think that you know, you follow your passion and you're going to just kind of reach this great world, you're going to leave this other crappy world behind. But yeah, we're still in the physical world. All the natural laws apply.
Mm-hmm.
What is your biggest piece of advice for those people? Because we actually have to go, Chris. But what's your biggest piece of advice for those up and coming young people who want to, or old people like John and I, who want to make movies?
Well, I guess a couple pieces of advice is, one, pick what role you want, because I also knew when I got involved I didn't want to be the creative lead. I didn't want to be the director, and I was looking for other, you know, there's other ways to contribute that you know, I have my skill set. In the business world, I find myself pretty creative, but in this world, I was, you know, probably the least creative, I think. And just keep your eye on the ball, because you know, what I did is probably, you know, over the last 10 years, whenever I had a moment to do something, you know, I read about it, this week-long masterclass in London, I signed up and I went. You know, when, you know, and then you start telling people about your dream, you know, and say, this is where I'm going. Even if people roll their eyes at you, tell the world about it, because then the world's going to hold you accountable and find ways to support you, like Trevor did and Richard did, and then, you know, then you find other things to do, like the 48-hour film project. Will sound like a cool idea. You pick up the phone, you talk, you bring it to Europe, then you meet people, and it's been just a constant keep pushing ahead, realizing that it was going to happen, and then now it did. So
I'm excited for your next movie, Chris. See when you're going to be set up for that.
Well, that question comes up a lot as well, and as you know, we're not done with this one yet, and so what I've been very, very, you know, I guess almost religious with myself is, I want to see this one to the end, learn all, you know, because for me in my role, we're in that hardest part. I don't want to drop the ball now until we've actually succeeded on this one. Or this
how can people support you and in this film? Is there anything that we can do?
Absolutely. We'll go to, you already gave the URL, so therightjuice.net. Sign up for the newsletter. You know, go to the Facebook and do all that kind of stuff. But what we're looking for is that, dare I say it, that lightning strike of luck. That for someone, if they know someone in the industry who's soft for a nice human film, it's sort of romantic, and you know it's got the drama around it, and It's an art house. It's an international thing. If anyone knows anyone in the industry that can pick that up and exploit it somehow, we would just love to get in touch. So if you know anyone in the industry, point them our direction. Yeah.
We'll do lots of praying too. Everyone out there, pray.
Yeah. Prayers. Yeah.
Chris, thanks so much for being on the show. This was a fascinating story. I actually want to hear more still, but thanks for your time, and we wish you lots of luck with everything.
Thank you so much for having me on. Thanks. Thank you for having the right Jews.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
So there we go, Jani. That was fun.
Wow, that was so fascinating. Oh my gosh.
Unbelievable, right?
I had no idea. I just around you. It's crazy because it's like you put on all this work. You wrote it, you directed it, you got the actors, you got funding, you do it, you are happy with it, but then you can't do it. But then the distributing it, I had no idea.
When does a project end? That's a tough one to decide, right?
And I just feel like movies and TV, we need to revolutionize what we're watching. And what I love about The Right Juice is that it is such a beautiful, simple, heartwarming film with no explosions, not with all that excessive violence, sex, all of it. It's just a good movie.
Movies kind of suck these days. I've realized how few. I used to love to watch movies. I realize how few movies I watch these days.
Well, and that's
because
why
they're all like these explosions and stuff.
I know, because we all need to change the way we are viewing movies. Like, this is an actual really good movie that deserves, and we deserve to watch it. We deserve to feel good after watching it. So I really wish Chris and his team the very best, because it deserves to be put out there for all of us to watch.
Yeah. And a great story how he did it. So I think for me the cool part is somebody who just finds a way to make this happen in their spare time, and how he even creates the spare time. How this thing took 10 years. He said it took 10 years. It was 2011 when they kind of got the ball rolling, and now it's 2014, right? So it's been a couple of years' time just to once they've sort of made some traction on everything. And he's been thinking about doing a movie for a long time now, putting the pieces together bit by bit, and it seems like it all kind of snowballed into this, right?
I mean, just a true testament of hard work and endurance and taking these little baby steps towards your dream. I mean, it really does take time.
And the real cool thing is or the kind of thing that brings you back down to reality is he wasn't doing this full time for 10 years. So, I mean, imagine if he had no job just trying to do this for 10 years, how crappy would life have been? He's been an executive in these companies. He's been doing great, cool things in his career. I mean, otherwise he'd have been, dare I say it, waiting tables. Do you know what I mean? You know what I mean? He's still able to do it.
No, I think that's probably why the wife is still happy, because
exactly.
They're not living in poverty.
Right, he's got the best of both worlds.
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful guest, and we wish Chris and The Right Juice the best of luck. I will definitely be saying a prayer for them.
Nice. Another great show. Jani, thanks very much. Who do we have next week? We're hoping
we have a great author coming on board. He's written about 5 books, so we won't want to miss that. Spiritual Intellect.
Spiritual Intellect. All right.
Mm-hmm. So have a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful day, everybody. Thank you all for joining us.
Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next week, hopefully. 1 week.
Bye, John.
Bye, Jani. I think we're out, right? Not just yet. Bye.